Welcome to another episode of The Latest with Maya. Today, I am so happy to have a conversation with director and screenwriter Molly McGlynn. Molly directed the movie Mary Goes Round, as well as episodes of Bless This Mess, Bad Blood, Speechless, The Wonder Years, and more. Molly also wrote and directed the movie Fitting In, which is so good and a movie that I absolutely love. Thank you so much for being on my show. I am so excited to be talking with you.
Thank you for a very beautiful and succinct introduction. It's always so cringy to have someone read your bio when you're right there, but good job with that.
Thank you. um, so let's get started. So, why was it important to you to make Fitting In?
It was important for me to make Fitting In because I felt like I had a really unique position and opportunity as a filmmaker who also has MRKH to tell this story. For those of you who haven't seen it or don't know anything about MRKH, it stands for Meyer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome, which is uh, four male doctors who discovered the condition, which it affects the reproductive organs. So I found out when I was a teenager that I was born without a uterus and my vagina was underdeveloped, and having hetero penetrative sex was going to be difficult, and there was some hurdles with that. It's kind of a complex condition where it affects your sense of self, your relationship to your body, your peers, how you fit in with society as a woman, what even is a woman. So I had made my first feature, Mary Goes Round, in 2017, and then I've been directing TV, but it just felt like I always knew I was going to tell this story. I didn't really know when and how, and it just sort of exploded out of me. And I was really lucky that it got made, pretty quickly, almost too fast, because the film is so personal. When it was greenlit, I was like, yay, but then, oh no, and like kind of panicked of this feeling of exposure and vulnerability that, I couldn't put that toothpaste back in the tube once it was out.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I watched it, I just can't even begin to imagine like the kind of, feelings and everything that goes along with that. And I think it's very impressive to be able to like create something from such a hard thing you went through. So I'm very inspired by that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was a huge opportunity I had. In some ways, it was like very expensive therapy that I did publicly, which is wild, but not everyone has the opportunity or space or support to tell their story. So, I really don't take it lightly that I was able to. And further to that, it's just my story. It doesn't speak for everybody who has MRKH. I know some people see themselves in it, other people don't, and that's okay. Like I always say, when you write your book or you make your film about it, I'll be the first one to see it. Because you know, we all have very different points of view in the world, but this is just mine.
Yeah, yeah. So who has had the biggest impact on you professionally?
Hmm, that's a great question. I think so many encounters with people throughout my career have been, in hindsight, a real turning point. Like Catherine Reitman, who stars, wrote, and created Working Moms on Netflix, gave me my first TV um, job to direct. So, I'm so grateful to her for opening up the door to TV directing. Lake Bell and Liz Merriweather, who created Bless This Mess, gave me a tremendous opportunity there. Um, Meeting and getting to know Jane Fonda directing Grace and Frankie was so incredible. And I feel so inspired by her on a personal and professional level, especially because, she has had so many lives, so many different versions of herself in Hollywood. And she's done it with such humor and grace and integrity. And seeing her role as an activist in her climate change work is incredible. And really just a reminder to use your platform as small or as big as it is. Um, and I think about that a lot. I don't want to just make or create things that I don't feel passionate about. For me, it has to push the envelope a little bit, like in terms of what you're writing about or what you're talking about or how you shoot it. Because otherwise it's like, well, what are you doing then besides just going through the motions?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Um, so who has had the biggest impact on you as a person?
My mom, who passed when I was 21, has had the biggest impact on my life. She was an incredible woman. She was from Ireland. She had five daughters. She gave so much to being a mother, and only later in life was really able to start to figure out what she liked and what she was passionate about. But when I think back about why I'm even a filmmaker or a writer, I think of my mom, who at that time had only a high school education, but she was always like, let's rent this movie, or let's go to this play, or let's go to the museum. And it was when I was so young and I was like, I don't want to go to that play or that museum or whatever. And she said to me once, she knew I was going to be an artist because she brought me to this museum when I was a kid. And she said, you cried the whole way there because you didn't want to go to a museum. And then you were crying on the way home because they were like, it's closing. And I did not want to leave. I was so in awe and I just couldn't take it all in. And I'm really grateful to her for her exposure to art and music and culture, basically. Um, and, I think about her mother, my grandmother, who I think, I don't even know if she finished high school, but she didn't have a driver's license. She never really left her tiny town, well, small city in Ireland. And she used to read the newspaper religiously every single day. And she said, you can't let a lack of schooling get in your way of an education. And I think that is amazing. So, she was a woman who did not have the opportunity I had. Like my mom, she had more opportunity than her mom, but still, and the life I have now is because of and as a result of this lineage of people. Um, and I think about all the sacrifices they made for me to be able to have a job that's make believe. Like that blows my mind sometimes. Like sometimes I'm on set and I'm getting overwhelmed or it's stressful and it's like, okay, let's take a step back. I get to play and play make believe all day as a job, and that's pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. So what are people surprised to learn about you?
Oh my goodness. That's a great question. I think it might be surprising that I'm a little more introverted and quiet than people may think. And it's funny because fitting in with such a personal movie, I was talking about my body. Like, who wants to talk about their vagina in public? It's like, what a nightmare. And you're on stage and you're talking to people about it. So you might think like I'm really extroverted, but that's kind of just one side of me and that's part of my job. But I can be a little bit more internal. And I think the movie has a really empowering message, but people might be surprised to know that I don't feel that way every day. Um, it, it's a reminder to me as well. It's a choice to wake up and fight every day for hope and optimism. And, the journey of loving yourself, as cheesy as it sounds, is lifelong. Your longest relationship is going to be with yourself. And we invest so much time and energy with all other relationships, friendships, partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. And it's like, what about yourself? So I always have to remind myself to continue to get to know me. And I want to keep learning new things about myself. So yeah, I guess the biggest thing was that I don't always feel confident or brave, but I take action. It's like, what would a brave person do? A brave person would tell their story or say the uncomfortable thing. And then maybe I'll become the brave person, but it's hard being human. It's hard being honest.
Yeah,
But if if my honesty or vulnerability makes someone feel connected to themselves, like that is worth it for me. The people who have been affected by this film, like that's who I'm making it for. I'm making it for the people who have felt like freaks or weirdos or didn't know their place in the world. Like those are my people.
I love that. Yeah,
I'm always like, I don't know. I like if you think about like your high school cafeteria, I'm like all the sort of like weird kids or whatever. Like I'm like, those are the people I want to talk to. I'm like, those are the people that grow up to be like so interesting. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I just want to hang out with people who have always felt a little bit weird and they don't know why.
yeah. Me too. Yeah,
We're sitting at the same lunch table then.
yeah. So, what was your favorite childhood book?
You're asking such good questions.
Thank you.
Um, I think my favorite books as a kid were Narnia. Um, my parents used to read those to me, and like that was like the beginning of like my imagination, like those books where it's like it was like my version of Harry Potter. Also Roald Dahl, who's like a British children's author, Shel Silverstein. Um, but yeah, so many male authors, I'm realizing. I'm like, what female authors did I read? Um, oh God, I was loving Goosebumps at the Scholastic Book Fair. I was in an Agatha Christie phase. Um, but yeah, it was really Chronicles of Narnia that got my brain
Oh,
really into my imagination and sense of play.
oh, wow, I love that. Yeah. So do you have any irrational fears?
Yeah. What are they? That What are my irrational fears? I would say that what I have given up in order to achieve certain things will be a regret. Um, and I point to that as being irrational because it can't be. Like we have to at a certain point trust the path we're on is the one meant for us. And there's that saying, nothing meant for you will pass you by. So I always remind myself of that. Um, this is the version of my life that I've both chosen and has been given to me. It's like a culmination of the two. Um, an irrational fear would be probably dying with regrets. Um, I, yeah, I want to live a life that when it's my time to go, I can go with peace if if I'm granted that, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that I will be able to rest easy when that time comes.
Wow. Yeah. So what has been the biggest obstacle you've overcome?
The biggest obstacle I've overcome has probably been being at war with myself, um, thinking I'm not good enough or um, I don't matter or I'm broken or whatever, X, Y, and Z. Think of a horrible thought in your head. I've probably had it. And it took a long time to kind of put down the voice weapons in my head and kind of change that narrative. Like, what if you are capable? What if you are worthy? What if there's nothing wrong with you? What if you are exactly the way you're supposed to be? Then what? Um, and it's really interesting because when you take away some of those thoughts, you're like, what do I think or talk about now up in my head? And you can fill it up with so much more that's not focused on self. Like if I'm feeling on a particular on a particular day, I'm just hearing a lot of negativity. It's like, girl, stop. It's all about you. Who cares? What can you do for someone else today? Maybe ask someone how their day is and actually mean it or actually listen. Like anything that takes me out of the hamster wheel in my head is probably good because um, thoughts can tend to go on loop in my head. Um, and I work hard to sift through the thoughts and which ones can stay and which ones can go. And also, like, thoughts aren't reality. If you think a certain thing about yourself, it doesn't mean it's true. It's what you've been told by society, your family, some asshole in second grade. Like, who knows where that thought came from?
Yeah.
But you can tell it to go or stay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm still working on learning that thoughts are just thoughts. They don't mean anything.
I, it's really hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
But something actually, you were asking me about my mom earlier, the person who influenced me most. Like she made me do this as a teenager when I was going through a lot, and I thought it was so dumb, but she was so ahead of the curve. Like she would make me write like Bart Simpson over and over on a page, like I am loved, I am loved. Like she would just make me write these things, and I really resisted it, but she was absolutely right. Like that's what I have to do now.
Wow. Yeah. Um, so what three words best describe you?
3 words to describe me: intense, compassionate, and resilient.
I love those.
My sister, I'm the youngest of five girls, and my sister once said to me in a fight, she'll be mad that I'll be talking about this because she'll be like, I didn't mean it, but we were having a fight and I was being really dramatic. And she goes, God forbid Molly has a single emotion that we all don't need to know about. Or so it's like, I was like classic youngest. I feel like the youngest gets
Oh,
a
yeah.
rap for, you know, um,
Yeah.
I've as I've gotten a little older and wiser, like what I was saying, I'm gotten a lot quieter. And it's like, oh, wow, you really don't need to share everything that crosses your mind, and especially on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, A, there's things just keep to yourself, or B, maybe just talk to a human being about it. We don't need to post about everything.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so what, no matter how many times you see it, always takes your breath away?
Which in fitting in or in
No,
general,
just anything in life, no matter how many times you see it.
these are such simple but difficult questions. What always takes my breath away is when I see someone who has every opportunity to give up, to live in self-pity, to hide when they show up as a human and they put themselves out there. Like that is the most beautiful thing, is seeing the humanity in people and light and vulnerability when on paper they have every reason to not do that and no one would fault them.
Yeah. Yeah. So what lessons from your childhood have formed your worldview?
Um, Lessons from my childhood that have formed my worldview. Um, there was a lot of upheaval and loss with my childhood, but the relationships that have stayed have been lifelong with certain friends, family. What has stayed with me at the end of the day, everything can go, but it's the people who love you and you can call at 3 a.m. or vice versa. That is all that matters. I don't, anything material or professional can go, not without a stink. I would be upset.
Yeah.
But all I need are those people who have had my back since day one.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And also that you have to laugh sometimes. Like I find sense of humor in really dark things, and my people laugh at some dark stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but I think people who have a good sense of humor have been through a lot. Um, I don't like taking things too seriously. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. My mom has always taught me and my sister that there's like joy and laughter to be found in even the darkest situations. And so we laugh all the time, and we have such a warped sense of humor. So we laugh at things. We probably shouldn't. But,
I
and
love
my
that.
best friend and I have like very ridiculous conversations that a lot of the times we're like, if anybody heard us right now, they would think we're insane.
Yeah. I mean, probably the hardest laughs I've ever had with like my sisters have been at the most fucked up times in our life. It's just like
Yeah.
when you're not supposed to be laughing, and it's like you're kind of laughing but crying, and people around you are like, I don't know what to do with that, but that's cathartic. Like to get that out with your family is the best feeling.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, laughter is my favorite thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the songs that make you sing along whenever you hear them?
I love Stevie Wonder As is one of my favorite songs of all time. I love It's the End of the World, REM. I love Four Non Blondes, What's Going On? That was on the radio yesterday. I'll always sing to an old Britney. Um, old Beatles were like my mom's favorite, so I will never turn the Beatles off. Um, yeah, I mean these are more like just random guilty pleasure songs that it's like I'm thinking maybe more of a karaoke list, but um, yeah, music is like it depends so much on your mood and where you are, even seasons. Like there's kind of like winter music versus summer music. I've been listening to a lot of Doechii lately, who is incredible. I've been listening to a lot of Irish music because I'm uh, in post-production for this TV show I just directed in Ireland, and I'm like going through all these Irish songs and kind of Cranberries B-sides and trying to find some music for the show.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. Yeah, so what small things bring you joy on a daily basis?
Small things that bring me joy are my sweet little aging Yorkie named Sweet Pea, who I don't know how much time she has left, but I am always filled with joy when I see her. When I see my cats curled up, so cute with their paws like that. When I have a first sip of coffee in the morning. When I see my neighbor Ruben, who's the sweetest guy ever, and like gave me a coconut last week for no reason. I'm like, I love this guy. He just literally gave me a coconut. Um, Anytime I go for a walk, I feel joy. Anytime I laugh with someone, I feel joy. It's all the simple things, you know, it's like all the things we take for granted are the ones that are most meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I love finding joy in just the little things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I am trying to practice that too, because I think, especially with phones around all the time, like you're often doing multiple things at once. Like I'll walk with the podcast or you're always multitasking. So I've been trying to, well, first of all, I deleted social media off my phone and everything, which is great. But like sometimes I'll just go for a walk without a podcast, which is like, well, we're raw dogging the walk here, but like just hear the birds or honking or whatever it is, and just do things one at a time. Because I feel like we're often doing multiple things or watching a movie, but checking who that actor is in our phone, like,
Yeah.
or like, I've been going to the library again, which I'm like, I freaking love the public library. I walked there the other day. I had no agenda. I forgot about this book I wanted to read. It was on the shelf. Like, I couldn't have been happier.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I am pop culture obsessed and go in stages of shows. that I cannot stop watching. Is there a show that you are currently obsessed with?
I my old standby that I will never not be obsessed with is probably Golden Girls because it's like this utopia when the world feels like it's going to shit. I am so calmed by that show. I love their like 80s Miami decor. The comedy writing, some stuff hasn't aged that well, but it's like just incredible comic writing. So I love Golden Girls. I am obsessed with the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City right now. Um, I was probably one of the last people to watch The Substance. I saw that last week and I am absolutely blown away and obsessed with that. Um, what show are you obsessed with right now?
There's there's a lot. I'm obsessed with. I'm watching season 2 of The Night Agent right now.
Oh, who's in that again?
Gabriel Basso, and now I'm blanking on every name. Um,
Okay, but it definitely sounds familiar. I'm gonna write that down because I feel like I've heard about that show.
yeah, it's so good. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm completely obsessed with that show. And then I actually had just started watching the show Twin Peaks. That I'm becoming obsessed with. Um,
I've never seen it. Like I've seen clips and whatnot on YouTube, but like
yeah.
I know it's kind of a must see and it's got like obviously a cult following.
Yeah. Yeah, I started watching it because one of my favorite shows did a spoof on the series. And so I've seen that episode several times, but I never watched Twin Peaks.
Yeah,
And then when my best friend was visiting, we decided to start watching Twin Peaks together. So,
that's awesome. What was the show that spoofed it?
Psych.
What Psych?
It's one of my all-time favorite shows. It's with James O'Day Rodriguez and Dulé Hill, uh,
Oh, okay.
and a
Okay.
ton of other really talented people. And it's very funny. It's about a fake uh, psychic detective. Uh,
That's a great premise.
yeah, yeah, it's so good.
Okay, fun. I'm gonna check those out.
Oh, yay, yeah, I highly recommend them. So,
Okay, written down.
um, I just have a couple more questions for you, if that
Sure.
works.
Yeah.
Um, how do you keep yourself motivated on days you aren't feeling it?
I lower the bar. Not every day you're gonna be knocking it out of the park. I try to be radically honest with myself. Am I being lazy? Or do I actually need to take care of myself? You know? And sometimes you're like, okay, I really can shower and put pants on, you know?
Yeah,
But there is also a lot to be said of we're all overstimulated. Everyone's going through a lot. It's okay to do less. And what is productive? Is it making money? Is it writing your Instagram post? Is it writing 20 pages of a script? Or is it, oh, I actually ate well today. I took a nap. I read a book. I talked to my friend. That is a productive day just for your spirit, you know? So I think we have to look at what what is productive. Um, and sometimes it's rest. So I spent a lot of my life like beating myself up and you should be doing this and you should be someone who likes to do that. And it's like, well, I'm not. So I I just don't try to beat myself up. And some periods are tough. Like the past few weeks I've been kind of down in the dumps, you know. But like little by little, I'm starting to come out of it a little bit. And that's usually from putting myself in small amounts of like social situations, having a coffee with someone. Not like crazy. It's not like I need to redo my whole life, but it's how do you connect with someone day to day? Because again, if you don't connect with people, the thought wheel is going to go like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Um, so I love inspiring and motivational quotes. And this week, my favorite quotation is by Darla Evans. And it's the impossible is just the possible waiting to happen. Is there a quotation that has inspired you lately?
Hmm. Um, one day at a time. And also, and I feel terrible not knowing the author, but that quote, rock bottom is a foundation of which I built my life. Um, you know, you in your lowest moment, it could be a turning point for the rest of your life, and to always remember that.
I love those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was my final question for you. Um, I've had the best time talking with you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. My goodness, you're a hard-hitting question asker. Really
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much, Maya.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, I so appreciate your taking the time to join me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on today's edition of the latest with Maya.